Hello, hello, hello. How's it going? This is Nadia. It's so exciting to see you tonight. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. To answer your question, yes, this will be recorded for future, so you can. Oh, you can't hear me. Now you can hear me. Hello. Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me? My normal tech buddy Nada is watching this live stream, but is not with me in physical presence. So if y'all could just give a big thumbs up that yes, you can hear me, that would be amazing. Yes, okay, we got a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Okay, so hello, welcome. I'm Nadia, and tonight we are going to be talking about embodying the dark goddess energy, and all of that fun stuff. So if that's what you're here to learn about, you are absolutely in the right place. I am so excited that you're here. I have been preparing for this live stream all week long, thinking about the dark goddess, asking people like, what questions do you have about the dark goddess? And I have had so much feedback, and I've really gone deep in the dark goddess energy over the last week to really embody that for tonight's ceremony and also for our live stream. And actually, just like an hour before this stream was in that dark goddess energy, just really letting all of what's not serving that that divine energy. I just let it go. So I am prayerful that this is going to be a beautiful channel, a beautiful channel for which the dark goddess can come out and play, and you can learn, and we can have some fun dancing in ceremony. So it's 6 o'clock. We're going to jump in, get started. I'm Nadia Black. I am a co-creator at the Black Magic Underground, and we are on a mission to change the world with magic. We do not subscribe to any particular religious lineage. What we do is we have gotten to the root and the heart of all of the traditions and all of the magic that is shared the world over, and we bring that magic to you. For centuries, this has been gate kept information. It's been locked behind mystery schools and secret societies, and only really available to the incredibly wealthy or to the very well connected. And in my own personal journey, I went so deep in magic and mystery, and specifically around the dark goddess. And I am so excited to share that with you tonight. So the first question that I'm sure you have is, what the heck is the dark goddess? And how do you work with her energy? All right, so let's just jump in. So I want to be really clear. There is no one dark goddess. Okay, there's not, like, if you Google dark goddess, there's a handful of goddesses that come up. Generally, it's Kali, it's Lilith, it's Hecate, it's Persephone, and maybe a handful of others. But there is no one dark goddess. And that is because traditions all around the world show up in the embodiment of the dark goddess different. And all of these traditions have different names for the dark goddess, and they have slightly different personifications, ways that they describe her and whatnot. So I'm not talking about like a specific goddess when I reference the dark goddess. And part of what is so amazing about the Black Magic Underground is, since we don't subscribe to any particular lineage, you get to decide for yourself which dark goddess you resonate with the most, who speaks to you, who is calling your name, who is like showing up in your life saying like, I need you to work with me. And that might change over time. You might have different goddesses or gods. There's also dark gods. So this isn't just a goddess thing. There's also the other polarity of this is the dark god. And these entities, these energies, these beings will come to you, and they will let you know it's time to work with them. And so one of the things that I really want to be clear on is the goddess and gods. And anytime I use that language, what I am talking about is a very specific flavor of energy that shows up in our physical manifested reality. So these are conscious entities. These are conscious beings because everything is consciousness. And these are beings that have been created through our creative brain, because humans are incredibly powerful sorcerers. We have incredibly potent, powerful magic, which if you were on our sex magic workshop last week, you know more about that and your ability to create from the energetic world into this physical manifested reality. So as societies, as civilization has talked about and created and deified these specific energetic frequencies, that's where we get the personification of gods and goddesses and the pantheons and all of that. It's really just a map of the energies of this physical realm. And it's no different than thinking about this in terms of even just quantum physics, right? So everything is a vibration, everything has its own particular frequency, and the dark goddess is a particular frequency. So that is what we're going to be talking about, that dark goddess energy that is present throughout the world, whether or not people want to acknowledge it. So the dark goddess is often personified as dark and scary, and she is the shadow side of life. She is creation, but she is also the flip of that, which is destruction. Because in order to create, sometimes we have to destroy, and she embodies that energy as well. She's the ultimate creatrix, but she's also a destroyer. The dark goddess is all of the dark shadow energy that we carry within ourselves, but she is also that power that carries us through the darkest times of our lives, those transformations that feel hard, that feel scary, that you just want to run away from. And sometimes she's even personified as death itself. So we can see this in goddesses like Santa Muerte, and that death shows up. Yeah, okay, so I can share your questions, ask your questions as we go, because this is a really interesting topic that there's a lot of different perspectives. So I'm going to share mine. So someone just asked, I read an article that the dark goddess is the lesser known goddess of the maiden mother crone. She exists between mother and crone, the shadow side of the moon. And that is a beautiful personification. And we can actually take that bigger. So the maiden mother crone is also Hecate. We probably heard a lot about Hecate. She is a dark goddess. She would be considered a dark goddess. Now, the fun thing about dark goddess energy is often the dark goddess has the flip, and she is the light as well. So we can go back all the way. Let's travel back in time to ancient Mesopotamia, and we have goddesses. The ultimate creatrix is showing up, and she had two very distinct sides. She had her light creatrix side, in which her sacred union with her partner created all that existed in this world, created just gods, and it was beautiful and it was peaceful. The other personification of her was this violent sea creature dragon thing that was responsible for death and destruction. And if you have really danced in the embodiment of the feminine or of the dark, you know that there is this flip that is available, right? That we have these different energies within us. And sometimes that energy is going to show up as what is the dark goddess. So we can have goddesses like Hecate, who is the maiden, the mother, and the crone, and like parts of her come to the light and other parts of her come to the darkness. Persephone is another beautiful example of this. Persephone lives half of her time in Hades and the other half in the above world. And so, we have all of these examples that we can pull from in different traditions of seeing this goddess energy showing up in the polarity of itself, in the polarity of creation, and also the polarity of destruction. So the dark goddess is the energy that when you are going through tough times, when you are like really having a hard go at it, she is who is going to show up and help you work through that. I'm going to give you an example from my own life. When I first started working with the dark goddess. So about 6 years ago. It's been 6 whole years. About 6 years ago, I hit rock bottom. I was in a deep, dark depression where everything in my life just came out from under me, and I couldn't see any light at the end of any tunnel. This is a content warning here. I was deeply suicidal and just really not doing well in life. I didn't want to be on this planet anymore. Everything was hard, and I just didn't want to. I ended up shutting down my business. I divorced my husband. I lost everything in that collapse of my life. And for the years after that, I began my deep dive into healing and trauma and figuring out what actually works to heal the pain that I was feeling. And what I realized is that in that process, the goddess is who showed up for me time and time again. She was that really quiet voice in the back of my head saying, baby girl, you got this. She was the one that said, keep going, you're almost there. She is who was the loving mother who was comforting me in my time of darkness and sadness, because that's also the personification of the dark goddess. She is the divine mother energy. She's the mother who's not going to judge you when you're like, mommy, I've had a really bad day, and she's going to hold you and love you. And then once you're in a good place, she's going to say, no, let's talk about it. What do we need to do to fix this? So as I was going through that deep, dark time in my life, I tried everything to heal. I did this. I went the personal development route first. I learned cognitive behavioral therapy. I retrained my brain. I did all of that. Then I ended up in the Joel Osteen world, which is actually amazing. And he's got such like interesting daddy energy. Worked out a couple things with Joel Osteen, ended up, like Oprah and all of that. But there was something that was missing. It wasn't really getting into the depths of what I was feeling and what I was really experiencing. Like, it was nice to have like happy, fun voices in my head being like, like all of that. But I wanted more. I wanted to really dive in. And so, okay, again, content warning. We're going to talk a little bit more about death. This is a content warning for this whole thing. We're going to talk about death. Okay. So if that's a trigger for you, please do what you need to do to hold space for that. This is a safe place to move through those things, and the ceremony that we're going to do in about 20 minutes will help hold you as you work through that energy. But COVID came around and my grandma died, not of COVID, but she died in August 2020. And I went back to my hometown. I'm from a very small town in Kansas, population 12,000, where everyone is evangelical Christian, or at least it feels that way. And I went back to help with my grandma's house and be with family and all of that. And in that process, I'm back home in this deeply religious place. And I was raised as an evangelical Christian, went to church. I went to church Sunday school, then Sunday service, then we were back at church on Sunday evening, and then we were back at church on Wednesday. And then throughout the week, we were at church events. Almost all my friends were at church. Like, I was a church kid. And so I was raised in that Christian tradition. And I'm back home, and I had rejected all of that. Just like I don't want anything to do with spirituality. I don't want anything to do with any of this. And I'd been on this healing journey, and I specifically was like, I don't want to go that route. But let's come back to Joel Osteen. He is who helped me kind of like work through my stuff around the word God, and really to understand like what might be deeper below that. But I still wanted more. So I'm back home, and I had a tarot deck, which, if you have heard me talk about my story before, one of my first experiences with spirituality was when I was a very small child. I'd found my mom's tarot deck, and I'd pulled it out, and I was like in love with it. Then my grandma found out, and she took it away from me. She's like, this is the devil. This is Satan. You've brought demons into my life, into my house. How dare you? And just really shamed me for it. So I'm back in my grandma's house, because the universe is a trickster and loves a good joke. So I'm back in my grandma's house where all of this had went down the first time. playing with my tarot deck, and it was a goddess deck. Oh, I wish I had it on me right now because I still have it. It's a beautiful deck. So I'm playing in this tarot deck, and I'm really sitting with the goddesses that keep coming up. So I'm 33 years old at this time. This is important. This is the Christ year. So I'm 33 years old at this time. And very specific goddesses kept showing up for me. You want to take a stab at who they were? So it was the goddess Isis, it was the goddess Kali, and it was Mary Magdalene. Three dark goddesses who do not fuck around. They are like, let's get to work. Let's do the thing. And every time I played with this deck, every time I pulled it out, every time I did a spread, one of those three goddesses would show up. And I was like, I don't even know who you are. Outside of Mary Magdalene, I was like, I've never heard really of any of you. And I was like, really resistant to it until I started to like deeply meditate on who are these goddesses that are coming to me and what are they doing. So I started researching specifically Mary Magdalene, because she was the one that I was like, okay, let's dive into this. Like, I understand like Jesus and Mary Magdalene and all of that, and like, let's just start there. So I started working with Mary Magdalene first, and she is who showed up and really guided me through that next phase of my journey. She is who helped me really understand prayer and devotion and worship and ritual and how that plays a part in our lives. And then when Mary Magdalene was done with me, she handed me off to Isis, who is a goddess in Egypt. And this is where I dove really deep into sex magic and all of the Egyptian mythology and all of it. And I'm starting to put the pieces together because there's a really clear connection between Egyptian mythology and early Christian mythology as well. And so I worked with Isis, who was much more gentle. She was far more like the queen mother energy, and, you know, really like understood what it meant to be a maiden. And that was the part of the journey that I was on. I was very firmly in the maiden part of my life. And at this point, I'm like having a little bit of a crisis. And I was like, I don't know what's happening to me. I'm starting to get called to like councils of light, and they're telling me that like, you're a part of this and we need you in this battle that's to come, and we need you to show up, and like, we need you to get ready to like take the throne, is specifically the verbiage that they were using. And I was like, I've lost my mind. Like, I'm absolutely batshit crazy. And then I kept thinking, I was like, no, I've actually been crazy. This is not what crazy feels like. This is like the opposite of crazy. So I got on the phone with my spiritual mentor at the time, and I said, hey, this is what's happening. Am I losing my mind? And he was like, absolutely not. You are growing up. You are in a maturing process. You are going from adolescent to adult, because that's what we do on our spiritual journey. Like, we learn to heal those childhood wounds. And then what ends up happening is you get to then go into the next phase. So from adolescent to adult. So for me, I was going from the maiden to the mother. And it was Mary Magdalene, who is one of the divine, the divine mothers. And then from Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary also showed up and, did this work with me. So I'm on the phone and I'm like, okay, so I'm not crazy. And they're like, no, you just need to like grow up. That's what this process is teaching you. But what I didn't know was, in the process of growing up, you got to die and be reborn so many times. This is why being 33 was very interesting, because that's your Christ year. And that's the year that the Christ died, stayed in the underworld for three days, and then was arisen. And we have the same story in Egyptian mythology with in other Babylonian mythology, Assyrian mythology, and I also believe Sumerian mythology also has the same story of dying, going into the underworld, and being reborn. It's actually the story of tarot. And like, what gets told is like what happens in the afterlife and how you redeem yourself and all that. So I'm in this process. So now I'm firmly in the underworld. So I've spent the next 2 years in what I consider to be like the underworld. I lived in hell. And not like hell in a bad way, like burning, damnation, condemnation, like whipping and screaming and all of that. That's a very monotheistic Judeo-Christian version of hell. In a lot of other traditions, hell is the place that you go to burn off karma. It's the place that you go to learn more about yourself, to like clear what's keeping you from progressing to the next level. It's the work that you're doing on the shadow self in the dark realm. So this is where the dark goddess really comes to play. This is her home. This is her realm where she is queen of the land. And this is where Lilith showed up for me. Anybody played with Lilith? And Lilith is who I consider to be my mom, my spiritual mother. She is a divine feminine queen who rules hell along with Lucifer. So Lucifer and Lilith are part of the same mythology. We also have Hades as a ruler of the underworld. That's a slightly different flavor of the underworld. It's the same thing. If you feel called to Persephone, Hecate, that's playing in the realm of Hades' version of the underworld. If you're called to Lilith, that's going to be like the Lucifer kind of hell, where Lucifer is the light bringer, that sort of thing. But they rule over this realm. And I really got to know Lilith, and she became this incredibly protective energy as I learned to grow up, as I learned to heal the deep, dark childhood trauma that I was working through, from abuse to being abandoned by my mom when I was 14 to, having a undiagnosed bipolar, then turned drug addict mom. Like, that's a lot of stuff to work through. And it was Lilith who showed up and helped show me like how to be as I transformed. Because what we do in those times of deep transformation, so when things are showing up for you that feel really dark, feel really heavy, you're confused, you're depressed, you're anxious, those energies are calling you to a radical change. When the dark goddess starts knocking, it means you are ready for extraordinary transformation. That's what I want you to be really clear on tonight. The dark goddess is calling you. It is time for you to wake up. It is time for you to go through a radical transformation. And that radical transformation looks like death and rebirth. And it looks like doing that process over and over and over again. And it is the dark goddess who is going to show you how to do it. And she's going to hold space for you as you move through that process. Okay, so that's really the dark goddess energy that we're talking about. And I named this workshop Embody the Dark Goddess because part of this process is you are learning to embody and bring into your physical vessel these components of the dark goddess that need to be expressed through you. And your flavor of the dark goddess is going to be very unique to you. And she is going to show up and imprint on you what it is that you need to learn to be able to do your work in the world in a bigger way. So she's helping you grow up, and she's also helping you expand your capacity. And she's helping you heal on levels that are unimaginable. Because what she's also probably going to do in your life is help you heal generational trauma. And she's going to help you be one of the people who cuts your bloodline off from all of the trauma that has been passed from person to person to person. She is choosing you to be the person that says, no more, this stops with me. Now, what happens, we always have a choice. We always have the choice of what we're going to do. For some of us, may not feel like a choice, but it's always our choice whether or not we decide to work with the dark goddess, whether or not we decide to actually show up and do the work that she's asking us to do. And if we don't, she's going to give us ample warning that like you need to like maybe think about fixing the situation or making different choices. And if we continue to go down the path of not listening and not making different choices, eventually one of two things are going to happen, because she's going to force the choice, right? She's going to say, okay, something's going to give. So usually one of two things happens. Either she pulls the rug out from under you, like she did with me, and she takes everything away. She takes your business, she takes your husband, she takes your life, and she's like, all right, are you listening now? Like, can we do this work? That is one way to do it. Another way is to just listen to her. Now, another thing that can happen when you decide not to listen to the Dark Goddess is, again, the Dark Goddess is divine mother energy. She has got our best interests at heart, and she can see a much bigger picture than we can. So if any of you have kids, this is going to really resonate with you. So she sees us. We are her child. We are her divine child, and she wants the best for us. But again, we always have choice. So what ends up happening is she's going to give us warning signs all along the way that we are running headfirst into traffic. And she's going to say, hey, baby girl, or baby boy, or baby you, I love you so much, but like you need to take a left turn here. Like turn left, please, turn left. And she's going to hold space for you to make that choice. And if you continue to go forward, she's going to warn you again and say, hey, okay, I need you to like take a right now because like the path has changed. Like, please go right, please go right. And this is your intuition talking, right? This is your intuition. And for so many people, we have been taught to not listen to our intuition. We have been taught to ignore it. We have been flat out beat on, yelled at, and denied the right to listen to our intuition. And that's exactly what she's coming in to show us how to do. And the more and more and more we listen to her, the easier and more fun the outcome. But if we continue to ignore her, if we continue to ignore her directions, and she's saying, take a right, if you don't take that right, she's going to hold that space and hold you in love. And then she's going to reshift you. But she sees the traffic that you are heading toward, and she doesn't want you to get hit by the semi. So she's going to keep doing that. But then eventually, if you don't listen, if you don't make the choice to radically transform your life, what she's going to do, she's going to rip you away from traffic. And she's going to grab you by the arm and she's going to pull you back, and it's going to feel really uncomfortable. And she's going to say, but I warned you. I didn't want you to get hit by the truck, and I'm not going to let you get hit by the truck. But we didn't have to like do this. There's a bridge right there. All right. Can you see like this beautiful mother energy? And as I'm a mom, I have a 7-year-old kid, and I've been in this exact same position. Honey, like, watch where you just be mindful of your surroundings is usually how I started out, knowing that there's like lots of things in the way. And then if like he's not making the right decisions, like, okay, I'm gonna just show you like very specifically, there's this thing that I don't want you to like get hurt by. And then if he continues to like go for it, I'm gonna like pull him out of harm's way, because that's what loving mothers do. And the Dark Goddess is your loving mother. And so if we don't listen to her, if we don't show up and say, okay, mama, what you got for me? She's going to like make the decision of how she changes you on her own. And it might not be as pleasant as if you're just like surrendered to her. So the Dark Goddess loves you deeply. She wants the best for you. She wants you to go through this radical transformation with grace and ease and full of love. And so when you surrender to her, because that's really what she wants you to say, okay, I give everything to you. I give it all to you. Take what you need. And this is where Kali comes in. So another Dark Goddess that came into my life exactly at the same time that Nada did is Kali. And she is a goddess in the Hindu tradition. And she was birthed from the third eye of Durga, as her good job was to eat demons. And then she got really into it, and she didn't want to stop. And if you've ever eaten a demon, they taste like spicy gummy bears. Why would you want to stop? So she's doing this, and she's kind of wilding out, because this is another characteristic of the Dark Goddess, is that ultimate chaos. And that is why the Dark Goddess is so scary. That is why we got negative comments about doing this live stream, because the Dark Goddess is scary, and she's scary because she's uncontrollable. And when you can't control her chaos, it is terrifying, right? And she has been subdued and forced into submission for eons. And when she rises up in that chaos of that just going for it, it is terrifying. But when you learn to love that aspect of the Dark Goddess, when you learn to love the chaos and know that it is always working out for the best and highest good, that is when the Dark Goddess comes in as a force of extraordinary transformation in your life, because she's going to eat your demons. She is going to take all of those things that you wish didn't exist within you, all of those deep, dark memories, all of that deep, dark trauma, all of those parts of you that you don't want to show the world. And what she's going to do is she's going to eat the parts that no longer serve, and then she's going to help you love the parts of you that need to be shown to the world. And she does it with extraordinary finesse. Even when she's pulling you out of traffic, she's really pretty when she does it. So we have Kali, who's birthed out of the third eye of Durga, who's eating all these demons, and then Shiva comes along and lays there, and she jumps on his dick and then like chills out. And I mean, I chill out when I jump on dicks too. So that's basically the story. So we have Kali dancing around the Shiva pole, which is, if you hear us talking about it, we joke about it. It's like, it's the feminine wants to dance around the stripper pole, because the feminine wants to be that chaos. It wants to be dark change and all of that energy, and it's showing up. And then it, once it finds its spin, then it kind of chills out and then it evens out. And that's when you get really beautiful magic coming from the darkness. But first, we have to learn how to hold that chaos within us. And all of the trauma that we're carrying, the anger, the fear, the shame, the guilt, all of that is what is getting in the way of us fully conveying our dark goddess energy and carrying that divine chaos in a productive, healthy way. So the dark goddess comes along to teach us how to release that energy from our body, release that energy from our story, our lineage, our energy, so that we can be a clear vessel for that chaotic, dark energy. And all of this, I'm using, goddess, no matter what your gender identity, this applies to you. Like, everyone needs to do this work. And especially if you resist chaos, if you are somebody who likes order and structure and that is your life, the dark goddess is exactly who I recommend you calling into your life, because she's going to teach you how to love the chaos of life, because life is chaos. You show up to the airport and you think your flight's at 7:00 and then it gets bumped to 3 a.m. That's chaos, right? And how you show up in that chaos we see it on YouTube all the time. Like, there are people who show up in that chaos and all they know is anger and fear, because they're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of this thing that it didn't go exactly how they thought it was going to go. And so when you learn to embrace chaos, then that 7 a.m. flight that got changed to 3 a.m. the next day, you're like, hey, I'm at an airport. I can either leave the airport and go find something cool to do in this city, or I can just have an adventure in the airport. So we show up in those moments of chaos at the level in which we're capable of flowing in that chaos. And the dark goddess is who shows up in that. So we want to learn how to transmute those feelings, those icky feelings of shame and fear and guilt. That's the shadow. That's the darkness that we carry in us. We all have it. And this world is designed to push those buttons. We are designed and conditioned to live in a state of fear. I don't watch the news. I can't stand it. Why? Because it's pushing fear all the time. Fear this, fear that, all of that. And this world is designed to perpetuate those feelings that don't feel good, because they're manipulation tools. They're easy ways to manipulate people. You can manipulate people with shame and fear and guilt and anger and all of those things. But when you have transmuted that energy, you're basically unmanipulatable. And that makes you dangerous, because chaos is dangerous. And when you're unmanipulatable, you are a wild card. And Lilith is our ultimate wild card, right? The energy of Lilith. She is the divine wild woman in the mythology of Lilith. She says she was put into the garden with Adam to be his lesser. And she was like, fuck that, I'm out of here. She tricked God into giving her wings so that she could fly out of the garden and go do whatever the hell she wanted to do. That's the energy that we are after, okay? That is that I'm gonna do what I want, how I want. There are no rules. I'm going to play this game how I want to play this game, and I'm going to win every single time. Because we are incredibly powerful beings. If this is your first time hearing anything from the Black Magic Underground, this is the thing you're going to hear over and over and over again. You are an incredibly powerful being. You have magic flowing through your veins. And when you learn how to harness that magic, you not only change your life, but you change the world, because we can take that dark, chaotic energy and harness it within us and then let it out into the world. And we are now a wild card. I've gotten one of my nicknames is Control Alt Delete, because when you get something on your computer and you're like, I don't know what to do with it, you just Control Alt Delete and hope that that fixes it. I want you to be that kind of glitch in the matrix. I want you to be that force of power in this world. And the Dark Goddess is who is going to show up and teach you how to use that chaos magic. But she first, and this is important, she first needs you to cleanse and clear your vessel. Now, if you were with us for the sex magic workshop, this is just I'm gonna parrot that same information. We need to cleanse and clear our vessel so that the energy that is flowing through us is purer. I'm not gonna say pure, period, because if you're super pure energy, you're no longer embodying a human body. So we want to purify our vessel so that we can hold more and more and more energy, so that, and that energy is less distorted by our own stories and our own trauma and our own blocks. Okay. And that's the Dark Goddess. So what we're going to do is, here in just a few minutes, we're going to go into a sound ceremony specifically with Dark Goddess frequencies. And this is going to help you cleanse that vessel, to let the Dark Goddess in, to feel what she feels like. Just get a taste of her magic, get a taste of her, so that as you go out into the world and you start to like listen for the messages, because if she wants you, she will let you know. The Dark Goddess is somebody that when she's ready to work with you, she will show up. So what's probably going to happen for a lot of you, you're going to start getting signs, and you're going to start seeing repeating symbology, repeated names, things that are just like showing up because she's like, hey, are you ready? Like, you want to come and play with me? So if you start seeing lots of crows, pomegranates, anything that like roses, if you're seeing roses, that's the lineage of Isis. There's lots of different symbology to all of this. And this is what the mystery schools and specifically secret societies kept to themselves, was like all of these symbols and what they meant and how they were used. And I'm just going to put them out there because I'm not going to gatekeep your spirituality. So if you're starting to see repeating symbols, names, things that are just like whispering in your ear, if you start getting odd tastes, if you start having weird dreams, like all of these are just signs and symbols that like the Dark Goddess is showing up in your life. So when she's ready to work with you, like she's going to show up. And this frequency is going to help you get to know that energy. So when she starts showing up, you're going to be like, okay, I know what this is. And if you are already familiar with the Dark Goddess, if you've already been doing this work, these frequencies are going to act differently. So they're going to be different for each person depending on where you are in your own personal journey. So they're going to help cleanse your vessel, or they might bring in some of these energies. It really just depends on what it is that you need. But grab those headphones, get yourself into a really comfortable place. If you were with us with the sex magic, you know how powerful this is about to be. And if you weren't with us for the sex magic workshop, I'm going to give you a little rundown of what to expect. So Nada Brahmananda is our sound sorcerer, and they transmit, that's the word. They transmit frequencies through music that are designed to interact with our energetic body, because everything is energy and everything is really sound waves. Like that's how this universe is created. And if you want to learn more, go study some quantum physics about how all of that works. So with sound, you can cut through the thinking mind and get right into the physical energetic vessel in order to like disrupt or engage with those frequencies, and you get to play in it. So have some fun. It's about 10 minutes. So stay with us, because afterward there's a little bit more that I want to share. So don't go anywhere. So I'm going to turn on the frequency. So start taking some big deep breaths. Get comfortable and bring yourself into a place of centeredness, a place of peace, a place of connectedness where you're ready to listen to your breath, listen to your body, and just start breathing as you allow the sound to penetrate you deeply and fully. to begin to come back into this space. Breathe in deeply and release. And on this next inhale, breathe in gratitude for the divine love of the Dark Goddess in all of her forms. And release your invitation for her to show up in your life and help you through this next transition, this next transformation. Breathe in her love. Exhale her love. And come back into the space. All right. Hello. How was that? Welcome back to the space. It's incredible, huh? So I'm going to take some time to answer any questions that you have about what you just experienced. So if anything came up for you, if you have any symbols that came to you, any like words that you might have heard, anything that came up and you're like, hey, can you help me with this? I would be happy to share some insight on that. So go ahead and if you're comfortable with it, put it into the chat and I'll give you some guidance. And as those questions, as those comments came through, or if you just want to share like what went down for you, what did you experience in that sound transmission, please share that in the chat. And while the chat comes in, I want to just talk about what happened after I started working with the Dark Goddess, right? Because I showed up and started working with her at a time of great transition, transformation, and really just like deep, dark depression, sadness. A lot of death was happening. And then a year later, actually, my mom died. And I was so grateful I had done a lot of this work with the Dark Goddess. So when that happened, I was like, all right, I know exactly what to do. And I showed up as this priestess and was able to help transition my mom into the next iteration of her life. And I showed up in my hometown church without any of that yucky feeling that was attached when my grandma died just a year earlier. And I actually got up and did the opening invocation for her service. And several lifelong church people were like, that was the most beautiful prayer I've ever heard. And it was coming from that place of just divine understanding of the process of death and rebirth and what that looks like. But ultimately, and in addition to that, so what ended up happening after working with the Dark Goddess, so I had, given up my marriage, I'd given up my business, like my whole life just like crumbled before me. And once I started working with the Dark Goddess and she was showing me how to transmute the pain, the fear, the anger that I had been holding on to, I healed my depression. I have been struggling with depression since 6th grade when I looked at my best friend and said, I want to kill myself. I want to die. I don't want to be here anymore. That's when I first started my struggle with depression, and it's healed, gone, done. And I also really healed my anxiety, and I don't have like this constant fear that something bad's going to happen. Not to say I don't get the occasional panic attack. I do, but it's not that like constant, like something bad is going to happen. Oh my gosh, the world is coming to an end anxiety that I used to carry with me all the time, 24/7. And in that, I also started to explore kink more deeply. I found incredible healing in the kink world, and I explored polyamory for the first time and really opened up like deeply to relationships. And I started to call in all of the right connections into my life. And because I understood that the change is the only constant, because I understood the death and rebirth process, because I understood that the goddess was always going to only take from me that which no longer served, I was able to go through life, and I am still able to go through life releasing what's not serving me instead of clinging to things too tightly when it's far past their time, their expiration date. And that's what the goddess is here, the dark goddess is here to show you, is like, how do you show up in change and chaos? Because the only constant in this world is change, right? We can't cling to anything. Like, no matter how hard we try, we're still going to age. We are going to, grow into an older version of ourselves if we're lucky. We get to grow old, and then eventually all of us are going to die a physical death. And understanding that process while you're alive and learning how to die and be reborn in this body is profound. And it's an incredible experience. And I hope that the Dark Goddess can show up and show you how that works. So I'm going to get to the questions. We've got quite a few. But first, if you absolutely loved that sound transmission, I want to invite you to the Sound Temple with Nada Brahmananda. And we are doing 2 different temples because why not? So we're doing one in person here in Albuquerque. That one is August 2nd, and it's going to be, I'll give you the address after you register, but it's actually going to be in my house. Moving into a new house, and in the basement of it is a community space that we're dedicating to sacred communion with the community. And the second one is online. So everybody can join us no matter where you are. You can join us online. So you're going to get an hour-ish of that beautiful transmission, music, the flavor that's coming through, and really be able to go deep into the sound and work with the sound to heal and cleanse and clear and help you get closer into alignment with your most authentic self. So the online one is going to be August 8th. So Nada, if you are available, could you drop that link into the comments for me? So join us. And what I want you to do is, because you were with us here tonight, use the code Inner Circle, all one word, and we're going to give you $20 off whether you show up in person or online. So that code is Inner Circle, just spelled that way, and you'll get $20 off. So I hope to see you in the temple, whether it's online or in person. And I want to give you a chant that you can use, because I mentioned that Kali is who showed up exactly at the same time that Nada did. And actually one of the very first things they said to me was like, you are really giving some Kali vibes here. And I was like, oh, thank you. And then really went deep into this. And Kali is the goddess of, and I should also point out, we're also going to have a Sound Temple event in the end of August in Wichita. So if you're local to Wichita, be on the lookout for that information too. So the goddess Kali she is going to burn it away. She is fiery energy as a mostly fire being. I love that about her. I'm an Aries rising. So I'm all about fire, burn it, get it out of me. So Kali is who's going to show up in those times. And a mantra that you can use when you're in a time of stress, in chaos, when anxiety is coming up for you, if you're struggling with, depression, or if those thought bubbles come into your brain that aren't so kind, if you're going through a rough transition, a breakup, whatever it may be, the mantra, Om Namo Kali, just repeat it as many times. Om Namo Kali, Om Namo Kali, Om Namo Kali. And if you want an English version, burn it all away, Kali. If it doesn't serve us, then burn it all away. And that mantra, coming back to that mantra and invoking her presence and allowing her to take away in that moment all that no longer serves, is going to help ease the energies that are blocking the free flow that is begging to come out of you. So she's going to burn that away and trust that she's only going to take from you that which no longer serves. It might look like she's stripping everything from you. I've surrendered everything. Nada a couple months ago surrendered their dreads to Kali. She's going to ask for a lot, but in return, she's going to give you so much. And she is going to replace that which you surrender to her with what you truly desire. So Om Namo Kali, or burn it all away, Kali. If it doesn't serve us, then burn it all away. Those are some mantras you can come back to. Now let's jump into these questions. So we've got some good ones here. All right. So one of them is, does pale blue eyes mean anything to you? Ooh, that's a really good question. The first immediate thing that came to me obviously was Game of Thrones. And that's like a really like that's the Norse traditions are what like kind of come through a lot, like the medieval they're pulling on a lot of like Norse mythology. Freya is coming through. Go Google some Freya and see if she is who uh might be who's calling your name. And that one just came out of the blue. Freya is not one that I work with a lot, other than if I had a black cat, I would name her Freya, but she rides on cats and deals a lot in the underworld. That's, yeah, so there's no reason that would be coming to me other than Google and dive in. All right, yeah, Freya. Go find out a little bit more about that. Odin is going to come up in when you're Googling crows are going to come up. So Odin and Freya and some of that North mythology is what's coming up for me. Somebody said I kind of felt a lot like I was just opening up, like doors in me were opening. Absolutely. I feel that a lot with Nana's music as well, where it just kind of like feels like the floodgates open up and you're opening up the portal. That's what's happening. You're opening up the portal to the other worlds. You're allowing yourself, you're allowing this vessel to open up to the beyond, to the subconscious, to the underworld, to what's the mystery beyond the veil. Like that's what that feeling is, that like opening doors, like things are just opening up. It's you are allowing that flow to happen and you're allowing what needs to come out, and you're also allowing what needs to come in. So it's a beautiful thing. Congratulations. Celebrate that. That's extraordinary. Can I can I move things with my mind? We have other classes for that. But yes, you can. If you're talking about physical things, that's a whole other conversation. But if you're talking about moving energy with your mind and moving all of that like stuck, stagnant stuff, can you move that with your mind? Absolutely. Yes. A full on resounding hell yeah, you can. Your mind is a servant of your heart, and your heart is where your energy actually, it's like your heart has a mind of its own. We kind of talked about this a little bit in the sex magic workshop, where science has actually proven that your heart basically has a mind of its own and its own energetic power source. And our what one of the goals of personal development and spiritual traditions is to let the heart lead, and the mind is the servant of the heart. And so, yes, your mind is capable of incredibly powerful things, including moving all that stuck, stagnant energy with your mind. And if you are somebody who wants to engage that process and actively get that energy moving, go for it. If you are more like really just want to surrender, let the mind go and let the energy just do its thing. Let the sound dance through you, let the experience dance through you, and just know that it's going to do what it needs to do. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh, so many good questions. And I love this so much. I really hope that everything is still going. All right. So this was amazing. And it's 7 o'clock. So I'm going to wrap it up. If you have more questions, post them in the comments. I'll get back to you. So if you're watching the replay of this, post your questions. I'll answer them in the comments. But I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for joining these live streams. I'm doing them every Thursday at 6 o'clock. So look for the link. If you haven't already, go to blackmagic.underground.com and join our email list, and you'll get all the updates. You'll get the links and all of that stuff. And if you are watching this and you're asking about where the recording will be, it'll be right here where you're watching it, whether on YouTube or Facebook. I'm going to just leave the videos up. So if you have somebody that wants to watch it, just send them here. I'm going to try to post that link again. I've been very honest about this experience of like, we are just kind of learning this as we go. I was famous on the internet before it was cool to be famous on the internet. Um, but that was like 6 years ago, and technology has changed so much that I'm getting back on like doing stuff on the internet, and I'm like, it's all a little bit new. So thank you for your patience as we like figure this out. All right, so we're gonna do. All right, so that's the link to Black Magic Underground Sound Temple in person, and then all right, so if you want the link, I'm going to give it to you. So it's blackmagic.underground.com/sound temple for the one we're doing in Albuquerque, and then Sound Temple Online for the one we're doing online. So I'd love to see you join us. It's going to be extraordinary. And that the music that you heard on this live stream was just a little bit of a taste. And you're going to get the full experience. We're going to open it up with the ceremony, have our transmission, and we'll close it. And it's going to feel a little bit like a psychedelic experience. So give yourself time around the ceremony so that you can integrate into the experience and then have some time to integrate after as well. But I'd love to see you there. Again, it's blackmagic.underground.com/sound temple. If you use the code inner circle, then you'll get that $20 off. And I would love to see you in the temple. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, if you're watching this on the replay, just go ahead and put some comments. I come in and check it and I'll answer. I'll get to you. Thank you for joining us. I'll be live next Thursday too. So just keep showing up. We're going to talk more about this stuff and really go into, into depth about how to heal, how to use your magic, how to increase your power, and how to change the world, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to change the world with magic, and I'm so grateful that you are on this journey with us. So thank you so much. I'm Nadia Black, a co-creator with the Black Magic Underground. Nada Brahmananda is my cohort, and they are the beautiful musician that you heard on today's sound ceremony on behalf of both of us and the magic we're creating together. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you next week.